Hey, thanks for watching College Football Best Bets. And college football finally officially kicked off last Saturday, but we have a first full weekend of games of the 2019 season this weekend. And the Florida Miami game was extremely sloppy last week, but it was entertaining. And then anyone who managed to make it through the entire Hawaii and Arizona game, I know that was a real late game, they were treated to an offensive shootout. And while it was great to finally get two college football games last weekend, this first weekend, starting tomorrow night, starting Thursday, we have plenty of opportunities to make money here. But as we did learn last week, early season bets are always a gamble. Then all you have to go on is what you've read about fall camp, and the last real evidence you've seen with your own eyes came last winter at the earliest. The unknown shouldn't necessarily keep you from betting, but it should cause you to be a little bit safer. My advice to you would be to bet light and bet low until you feel like you've had enough on-the-field evidence to risk more of your hard-earned money. But with that being said, let's get to the games. The first game I got is Virginia minus 2.5 at Pittsburgh. And I like a lot of week one lines, but Virginia minus 2.5 at Pitt is my favorite. UVA is one of my sleeper teams for the 2019 season, and obviously I'm not the only one intrigued by the Cavaliers because this game actually opened as Pittsburgh being the favorite. It would have been nice to jump at the Cavs as an underdog, but Virginia as a 2.5 point favorite is still a steal in my eyes. Why do I like Virginia so much? Well, Bronco Mendenhall's teams have improved every year since he left BYU for Charlottesville. He's returning the majority of his starters, including a senior quarterback from last year's 8-5 team. And his record in his 3 seasons since taking over at Virginia have been 2-10, 6-7, and then 8-5 last year, with the potential to be even better this season. Also, his quarterback Bryce Perkins is really, really good. He's a dual threat guy whose TD to INT ratio last year was 25-9. He threw for over 2,600 yards last year, and oh yeah, he gained almost another 1,000 yards with his legs. It really is pick your poison against Perkins, and he's my best bet to be the breakout star of this college football season. According to oddshark.com, 61% of the money is on Virginia, so you might want to hurry up and get the bet in on the Cavs before this line moves again. And as long as you can secure Virginia as the less than a field goal favorite, it'll be my favorite play of the weekend. All right, so we'll move on to the second game now. And they got Louisiana Tech plus 20.5 at Texas. I think the Longhorns are one of the most overrated teams in all of college football this season. And there's no way they're a top 10 team. They're the benefit of some recency bias and some lazy research on behalf of the public as well. Tom Herman has done a great job since moving from Houston to Austin, but I think his team is being credited a little bit better, a little bit too much than they deserve. They beat the SEC runner-up Georgia Bulldogs in the Sugar Bowl last season, and they beat a college football playoff-bound Oklahoma team at the Cotton Bowl back in the middle of the season. You add those two successes in their high-profile games last year to the fact that they're bringing back their starting quarterback, and that's why you have a preseason top 10 team. But there are a few problems with that logic. First, there's absolutely no way that anybody with a functioning brain outside of the people in Austin, Texas, could argue that Georgia cared at all about last season's Sugar Bowl. I mean, yeah, the Longhorns won the game, but Georgia was undoubtedly the better team all of last season. Second, Texas won the Red River rivalry regular season but don't forget that Oklahoma won the game that mattered most by double digits. They won the the Big 12 championship game. And in that biggest quarter of the season, the fourth quarter of the Big 12 championship game, the Sooners shut out the Longhorns 12-0. So now let's look at specifically why I like Louisiana Tech at plus 20.5 in this game. The Bulldogs are not a bad team, and Texas has not exactly set the world on fire in their last few openers. The last 2 years they've lost to Maryland. The Longhorns are missing a few key players this year for their week one matchup. Then Skip Holtz will have his Bulldogs fired up for what's honestly probably La Tech's biggest game of the season. La Tech has a senior quarterback that's seen it all and is more than capable of holding his own against a Big 12 defense. And also add the fact that Texas has LSU in week 2, and it would be completely understandable if some of the Longhorns get caught looking past their Conference USA opponent on opening night. I mean, Texas should still win the game fairly easily, but I'll be surprised if Skip Holtz's team can't keep it within 3 touchdowns, So I'm on Louisiana Tech plus 20.5. And then my third game of the weekend, Florida International at Tulane. And I don't know if y'all remember, but last week I told you to find some off-the-radar teams to bet on. Well, this is the perfect example of that. Unless you're just a college football junkie or you just happen to be a massive CUSA football guy, you might be surprised to know that Butch Davis is the head coach at Florida International. His Panthers are my favorite to win the Conference USA, and will probably be a favorite in this series all season long. Tulane is another one of my off-the-radar teams for 2019 season. And they really opened my eyes last year when they blew the doors off the Memphis Tigers. Willie Fritz has done a great job of bringing Tulane football back from being the bottom dwellers of college football to real American Athletic Conference title contenders this year. The Green Wave do have a ferocious defense, and they'll be facing a really good Florida International offense, and that's really the matchup to watch. The Panther offense versus the Green Wave defense. On the other side of the ball, though, not so much. Tulane's biggest struggle is offense. So the key matchup here is, can Florida International's offense take what can they do against the good Tulane defense? It's a good on good matchup in this game. And I did go back and forth on this one a little bit, but I did end up settling on FIU plus the points. The Panthers have an experienced quarterback. Tulane has a good defense, but their offense is boom or bust. And I think this will be one of the more entertaining games of the entire weekend. But in the end, I think Tulane's sluggish offense will end up costing them. Right now, I'm sticking with Florida International plus 3, but I'm really considering taking a shot at the Panthers on the money line as well, especially if the value keeps going up there. But I do need to warn you, just a heads up, this game is Thursday. So if you watch this anytime after Thursday, it's too late. You missed your shot. So definitely get this one in before kickoff. That's a 7 o'clock kickoff Central Time Thursday night. So as of right now, those are the 3 games I'm locked in on. But a lot can change between now and Saturday. Some of the other games I'm kind of keeping an eye on are Northwestern at plus 6.5 at Stanford. Akron plus 17 at Illinois. South Alabama plus 36 at Nebraska. South Carolina minus 10 versus North Carolina. That game's in Charlotte, by the way. And then the final game of the weekend, Monday night, Louisville plus 20 versus Notre Dame. Going back to that first one I just mentioned, I'm not just in love with Northwestern, but I think Stanford's overrated. And then I'm looking at Akron plus 17 just because I don't think Illinois should ever be a 17-point favorite against another FBS school. But the only thing that's kind of holding me back on that is Akron has a first-year head coach that I don't just know a ton about. So I'm going to keep watching that one, but who knows if I'll actually pull the trigger on it or not. That South Carolina-North Carolina game, I don't feel comfortable with South Carolina minus 10. But that game just a couple of days ago was just South Carolina minus 7. So a ton of money's been put on the Gamecocks. So if that line moves back down a little bit more, that one's definitely worth a look. And then that last game of the weekend, Louisville is nearly a 3-touchdown dog at home against Notre Dame. And a couple things have me a little bit interested in this. Louisville has been dreadful lately, but they did pluck my favorite up-and-coming coach from Appalachian State, and that's Scott Satterfield. I think he's going to have the Cards turn around. Will he have them turn around enough for week 1? Well, no, not to beat Notre Dame, but he'll have them ready to play and maybe even cover the spread. I do think the home crowd will keep a revitalized Louisville team fairly close, and it helps too that Notre Dame's a little overrated. But I don't know if they'll have enough to keep it in them for the entire game. So I'm going to watch that one. I probably won't touch it, but I am going to keep watching it. But just to run back through these real quick, the ones I have for sure, I have Virginia minus 2.5 at Pittsburgh, Louisiana Tech plus 20.5 at Texas, and then Thursday night, Florida International plus 3 at Tulane. So those are my 3 picks. As always, follow Jackson Bleachers on Twitter for any updates because a lot can change between now and Saturday. Look for updates, bonus picks, whatever. But thanks for watching. Hopefully we win some money, and I will see y'all next week.